in my opinion, the greatest thing about Anchor is that you don't need a big budget. You don't need fancy equipment. Anchor gives you all the tools that allow you to record, edit, and produce a top quality podcast right from your phone or your computer. When we started out, we literally recorded to our phone for the first 50 episodes, and we never had a problem with it. We always felt like we got great quality, a great service, and it was easy to understand and easy to use. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place, and best of all, using Anchor, it is totally free. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Never a Straight Answer podcast, the podcast that aims to cover a wide range of topics from conspiracy theories to popular culture and news. I'm your host Gaz, and joining me in the studio, when I asked him what does DNA stand for, his response was, is it the National Dyslexic Association?
Yeah.
He's my co-host, he's Mr. Taylor.
Yeah, good evening ladies and gentlemen, welcome one and all.
Welcome back. Welcome back, new listeners and repeat offenders. He's robbing my lines.
Yeah, I know.
Can't have anything these days, you know what I mean, if it's not nailed down.
Oh, that's right, man.
Well, thank you.
21st century.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
You know, the topic of genetics has come up a fair few times recently on the show, and we even did an episode recently surrounding GMOs and genetics to an extent. But since we only know little bits and pieces, we thought maybe bringing an expert on the show might be a good idea.
Oh, most definitely, yeah.
So we're going to be joined by the host of the award-winning genetics podcast DNA Today, Kira Dineen. She's going to be joining us later on in the show.
She will indeed.
And Kira's going to be helping us understand the difference between DNA, RNA, the Human Genome Project, as well as designer babies.
Oh,
That's all coming up in the show a little bit later on.
Listen to that, it's a real good interview.
Smokes.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good episode, I think.
It is, I think it is.
I'm feeling a bit better this week.
Yes, you're sounding a bit better.
A little bit. Well, I'll be honest, it's always that cough that lingers, doesn't it, after you've had like a flu or something.
Yeah.
And, oh my God, this has been a lingerer. But yeah, feeling loads better, loads more energy.
Keep it over your side, I
actually, oh God, you probably give it me.
Probably.
But like, got my strength back, and then I seen some guy the other day. Like, I was walking home, and there was this chap, and he was like off the curb on his shot mobility.
Oh yeah.
And he broke down.
Oh yeah. Right, okay.
So I was like, "You all right there, mate?" And he was like, "Oh, you couldn't, get me up on the curb. I broke down." So I was like, "All right, get him on the curb in there." And he's like, "Would you mind pushing me to the corner?" And I'm like, "I've just walked this half a mile."
Yeah.
So I turned around looking, I was like, "Oh, bloody hell." So I ended up pushing him back.
Did you push him all the way back?
I pushed him all the way back, right? But then I was just like that. If you would have asked me like a couple of days earlier, I would have just been like, "Sorry, mate, you're on your own."
Mate. Yeah.
So I was like that. As I was pushing it, I was like, "Did you rob this?" Like, firstly. And he was like, "No, I got the keys."
He got it on a good. He got
me on a good day. Yeah.
He did.
And
He's probably waiting there next week.
I did my good deed for the day. Fuck that, mate. If I see him again, he's on his own.
Yeah, I'm going round the corner. I'd rather walk round.
They're heavier than they look, them shot mobility things.
Yeah.
Have you been up to anything? You helped any shot mobility old men?
I haven't. No, I haven't seen that many. I nearly run one over the other day, actually.
Well, there you go. Maybe that's
why. But
he
was speeding off down the road just round the corner.
The same guy,
Yeah, it could be.
He's ragged it so much the battery ran out, and he's broke down and kind of
stuck on the hill, going like, I won't go up, not down.
Yeah, maybe. So, not been up to anything else?
Nah, not much. I did see something that was disturbing the other day. I saw a photo and it was like, you see
it disturbed
African, because you're seeing like some African elephants, the heads of the African elephants putting their trunks down and going through and eating and stuff, and you see the beautiful background in that
of the savannah.
Yeah, and then it comes down to the ground. It's like a fucking rubbish dump. It's like, what? And I looked at it and I thought,
that was exactly how I felt when I first saw that garbage island for the first time. It was like,
there's 5 of them now.
It's so shocking to see it, isn't it? And I mean, it's like when you see these once beautiful landscapes that have just been like absolutely trashed, and like they're just being used as a landfill. I think you were talking about I don't know if you're bringing it up in the news later on, but there's a story
there is
about
Sweden
they're doing something,
I've got a
but
story later.
we'll get into that in a bit. Something that I saw that was going viral this week, I was just like, what the hell? Because, I mean, I'm interested in the volcanoes that have been going on. Obviously, there's been a lot of volcanic activity going around the planet since, like, late last year? One thing that I looked into was when all these volcanoes were going off, and just part of the research for the show was natural disasters that have actually occurred in the UK, right? Now, I was like, there must have been something, I mean, we're not really known for our like extreme weathers, like hurricanes or tornadoes. If we get high
we've
winds,
had a few little ones.
It was a bit blowy today.
I mean,
it was like what you'd consider a gale. But in terms of like violent weather, like some countries get. We don't really get that much. We don't have volcanoes. We don't get earthquakes. Right? Not really. No. The main of our
I think the last big one was 5,000 years ago.
Our big things generally come down to like pandemics, floods are a big one in the UK. But other than that, we don't suffer from many things. No,
I mean 500 years.
So when this went viral, it piqued my interest really high. And this relates to bizarre lava-like rock that has been spotted in a Scottish field.
What, just rock in a field?
So basically a picture of a deep split in a Scottish field, so it's obviously like a sinkhole or a crack in the earth. As revealed lava underneath Scotland. So basically, I'm thinking we don't have any volcanoes, but potentially we might have.
Potentially, we might be sitting on a big one for all we know.
Who knows? I mean, when you look at like this one that just went off in the middle of the ocean, there'd be nothing to indicate that was ever going to happen. And it was like, I don't know if it's like it has a peak down there under the ocean, or if it was just a pocket of ground that split and the two plates rubbed, or whatever the situation
it's changing all the time.
It released something, and that ash cloud.
That was
kind of like seen from space. It's pretty crazy to think about. But I mean, if you know more, if you're into geology or anything, we'd be really interested to find out anything that we can about this. But it's pretty interesting stuff.
It is, and you wouldn't expect it in Scotland either.
No, well, actually, Scotland's pretty kind of like mountainous. There's a lot of kind of open, nice like
open land. A lot
there.
of loads of mountains.
But to find that it's actually like
possibly
lava,
something underneath it, possibly could crack off.
Who knows? I think they're going to have to investigate that.
Iceland's not that far from us, you know what I mean?
No,
so
that's
could
true.
Be
actually,
a connection towards there.
Fault lines and stuff. I mean, I'm not 100% sure what the fault lines are in that case. Do you know whether the are we? Well, this is the point why we don't have any earthquakes, because we're not really on a major fault line that's going to cause us problems
we're in a
like
pretty
cool
good
place,
area.
Really,
We're good. Well, for the weather, we get hot, cold, warm. We have all sorts of. So we get a chance to see everything. If you think about it, every kind of climate.
Oh no, that we don't.
Apart from well,
some of them a bit of rain and snow mainly.
It depends where you live in England as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, there you go. I think we should move on with the show.
Yes.
I thought that was quite interesting. It was something that was going viral this week, so I thought, share that, especially as the fact that it's pretty interesting.
Definitely. If you got any more on that, you don't forget, pass it through to us and we'll have a look more in it.
A couple of quick things before we go into the main topic this week, where we'll be joined by Kira from DNA Today, who's going to be coming into the show to discuss genetics in all its forms. A bit later on. Firstly, though, just to let you know that we're going to be on Red Wall Radio Thursday 9 p.m. We're available on Patreon if you'd like to sign up to our Patreon. It all helps us get the show to another level, really.
It certainly does.
And do little things that we've got plans for, but we can't really execute until we can get. So it all helps. You can go over to the website and you can contribute there as well on our page, which is support. And if you'd like to sign up to Patreon, there'll be a link in the description. Also, this episode is brought in part by Audible. Audible, it's a great way if you're to make the most of every minute.
Yeah,
you can get the latest books, audio books of your choice to keep, and you can cancel at any time. You can get the latest selection of audiobooks, including bestsellers, new releases, sci-fi, romance, mysteries, classics, and more.
It's massive, man.
I can recommend at the moment as well Double Helix, which is DNA related.
Yeah, it's
actually the autobiographical account of the discovery of the double helix, written by James D. Watson. So, and that's available on Audible, and you could actually get that as your free book if you were so interested to do so.
Goes along with the show, doesn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Lovely.
Be our book of the week.
It will be.
Yeah, you can get a 30-day trial, and after that, you will receive one book every month for $7.99, and you can cancel at any time. You can download and listen to the world's best storytelling, enjoy Audible books, original series, and more using the app. There you go.
Yes, there you go. So if you like or listen to a lot of books, that's perfect for you, isn't it? Really?
It is indeed. Yeah.
Even if you don't, and it's just you're travelling from one place to another, or just in work, and you want to listen to something.
Well, this is it. I mean, obviously, I like to listen to audiobooks because they're time savers.
Yeah.
Do you know, you can be riding your bike, or you be on the bus, or commuting to work, or just even doing bits and pieces around the house.
Yeah.
Where
it's good for cleaning with.
You might want to sit down and read a book or finish the end of that story, but you can't because you've not got the time. You might be doing the hoovering or housework or something. Audible. It's a great way of kind of making the most of, like they say, every moment. So definitely worth checking out, and there'll be a link in the description for your free trial.
Yeah. Lovely. Bubbly.
Well, joining us on the show this week, she's an expert in all things in the subject of genetics and the host and producer of the award-winning podcast DNA Today. Please welcome to the show, Kira Dineen.
Welcome. Hello, thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us. Big fan of the podcast.
Yes.
Award-winning as well. I mean, you've been doing it for a while now, haven't you, the show?
Yes, this year marks 10 years of DNA Today. Years. So for a good chunk of my life, I've been doing this podcast.
So how have you found the whole experience? You've just had a great time doing it.
Yeah, it's been an experience because I started when I was in high school and just kind of I think I want to have some kind of career in genetics. And now I'm a genetic counselor and working with my master's. So, the show kind of in some ways is a journey of my career as well. And just, back when I would do interviews, high school, college, a lot of questions I was asking, I truly did not know answers, whereas now sometimes I know what the guests might say.
I suppose,
but it's been really cool. I have to say, I love podcasting.
It puts you in the perfect sort of situation and position as well, doesn't it? Because you've got the interest, you work in the field, but it also means that when you meet somebody who's doing interesting research, that you can bring them on and
question them about it and question all the information that you're actually being given and putting your spin on it as well.
Well, it's as well, get that information to a wider audience as well, because I think there is a lot of kind of stigma about what genetics are and what is the future of genetics. It sounds quite sci-fi, quite scary. I mean, most people's opinions and sort of idea of genetics is that sort of realm of the negative, really, sort of almost horror or sci-fi. I mean, look at the 1986 film The Fly. That's where people kind of the minds go, and it's
it's movies, mate.
Our genetics obviously genetics have a positive impact as well, but I mean, for people who don't know much about it, how would you describe the field of genetics?
Yeah, because I think of movies too, like Gattaca, that was 1997, I think. So, and even just a lot of things from that film back then were science fiction. And now we're we can actually do that now. Whereas in 1997, that was science fiction. So I think it is interesting looking at it from that perspective. But for people that are not really aware of the field, genetics is looking at really the blueprints for our body. So looking at our DNA to see how our body is being able to operate and how our DNA is telling our body, okay, this is what you need to do to live. Or this is what our DNA has that, my eye color is blue. My hair is probably dirty blonde. So how we're all a little bit different from that. So really genetics is just looking at how our genes are interacting, with our environment and how that plays a role in health is usually where it comes up the most in terms of, with my field of looking at healthcare and everything.
Yeah, because I mean, this is the thing. I mean, I got approached. My dad turned around to me recently and he says, "Oh, you need to get your cholesterol checked." And I'm like, "Well, I don't. I'm quite healthy. I exercise. I don't drink, and all these factors." And he was like, "Nope, it's genetic." And I was like, "Oh, all right then." So I mean, it's not just like those traits, like you get your blue eyes and your dark hair or those sorts of physical traits. It's underlying conditions as well, isn't it? I mean, it's stuff like, heart disease and problems of that nature. I mean, what would you say the biggest genetic ailment was? What's passed down from, father to son or mother to daughter?
Sure. I mean, that's a big question because there's so many conditions or symptoms we could say too. Like high cholesterol isn't necessarily like a condition, right? It's kind of just something that comes up in terms of someone's health. But we're still learning so much about genetics. So I think a lot of conditions and symptoms that we say right now, well, it's probably mostly environmental factors. I think as time goes on, we're going to learn like, oh, these genes are actually playing a role and it really is both genetics and environment. So there's some things that we've figured out that are just purely genetic. So a lot of obviously genetic conditions, but then there's other factors like you're kind of mentioning high cholesterol that would be considered multifactorial. So multiple factors are playing a role in that. So genetics, environment. In terms of just purely genetic, I would say some things are like certain blood disorders come to mind that are like more common. So beta thalassemia is something common, like I just had come up recently with patients. So certainly things that patients people are inheriting from their families and are being, we see throughout families.
Right. Okay.
But you also have to keep in mind if your family all lives in the same place, has the same diet, kind of exercise, that's also playing a role. So you have that familial factor too, where it's like that's looking more at the umbrella of genetics and environment together. Right. So lots of different ways of looking at it.
Is genetic mapping already, because it was in the, I think, the late 90s where they said that genetic mapping had been complete. Now I'm hearing it's not complete.
Oh, were you hearing this?
You've got a good ear.
yeah, he's got a good ear.
So when we finished the Human Genome Project,
that's right, the Human Genome.
We say, okay, we have sequenced the entire human genome. Big deal, right? Because we're massive. The first species to actually figure out, well, let's spell out our genes, all of our genes, which comprises our genome. But, as Taylor said, there's certain parts that we kind of skipped over because we're like, oh, that's not an important part. Yeah. So we're still going in and finding some parts to my knowledge. So that's something that we're still like adding to. And the big part is just because we've sequenced the genome doesn't mean we understand it. That's a whole nother level, right? That's why so much of this is like, we need to know more in terms of like how genetics is playing a role because we can read it, but we can't understand it necessarily.
Right.
Yeah, we're still at the beginnings of a massive line to go down.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And we understand a lot more than we did, back then when we first had the genome done, but we have a long way to go.
And isn't it right that your genetics change every 3 months or something like that? Your genetic itself, it changes within your body for the next generation, is passing it on.
I don't understand how that could be, though. I mean, I would imagine that because obviously, through DNA tests and things, you were able to kind of
but if you have
prove that you related to your father. So if your DNA was to change every 3 months, wouldn't that sort of contradict what?
Well, it's stuff like illnesses or like food, the allergies and stuff like that you pass on to the next generation that actually, brings on allergies or causes effects of drinking milk or some stuff like that.
So you're both hitting on like good points. So in terms of our genetics, the genetics we're born with, our genome, is the same that we die with. So it's the same. That doesn't change. Okay. But there is another layer to it called epigenetics, and epi means on top of, so kind of on top of our genome.
Okay.
Where that can control what genes are turned on and what genes are turned off. So that can totally change. And so that when we look at like twins, identical twins, born same genome, same genetics, same DNA, but as they get older, they can be a little bit different. Obviously, they're not totally identical. So as they get older, things are a little bit different because their epigenetics changes.
And does
over
that,
time.
you were saying earlier about environment. So we did a story a while back about a set of twins, astronauts.
Yes.
And did you hear about this one? So it's basically
really interesting.
It was really interesting. So one of them spent a bit of time on the ISS. And when he returned, they checked the DNA of him versus the control, which was his twin brother, and
who stayed on Earth.
Stayed on Earth, and the genetics they had different DNA. I mean,
that's
different epigenetics. Yep.
Was it the epigenetics that were the difference? I mean, was it?
I believe so, because their DNA is not necessarily going to change, because that's, unless I'm misreading the story or something.
No. I mean, that makes sense to me. Now, if you say that you've got these triggers or switches, and they can kind of be manipulated and switched on and off to say you're allergic to this, or you've got maybe a tolerance to that, then that makes sense. But you obviously, like I was saying earlier, you've got a genetic genome that is passed down and will be the same as it is from the day you're born till the day you die. So there is that hardcore DNA, but there's this
overlay, aren't you? You've got the cover over the
I know,
top
but how much does that overlay or that how did you put it? What was it called again?
Epigenetics.
And epigenetics. How much does that sort of determine how you operate, how you live your life into, what's the deal there?
Well, that's the question. I think that's where we're headed in terms of, now we're looking, as we kind of like previewed at the beginning, like the future of genetics. I think a next phase of that is looking at epigenetics and having much more of an understanding with that, and how environmental factors are helping us turn genes on or off.
Yeah.
Because that's then how the body is reacting to things. And, as you said, like maybe if you're allergic to something, like I'm sure genetics plays a role in that, because we also sometimes see that in families where it's like, oh, multiple family members are allergic to something. So in my mind, I'm like, there must be some genetics at play there.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be really interesting in the next few years to see what we learn about epigenetics, because there's some genetic conditions where the genes don't have a spelling mistake, don't have a mutation, but it's the epigenetics that's different. So it's not turning on and off the genes the way it does in most, I'll say quote unquote normal people. So someone can have a genetic disorder based on epigenetics. So I think studying those disorders, we're going to start learning so much more about epigenetics, and that is probably going to be something we're seeing more in the news in the future. I'm speculating a little bit, but I'm kind of hoping that's where we're headed.
Fair enough. So do you know these over the years, I've heard loads of kind of stories come up about being able to choose traits, choose sort of eye colour for, you're having a baby and you think, right, I want my baby to have, be a star athlete. I want it to have blue eyes, blonde hair, all these perfect traits, or so-called perfect traits. Would it be in those epigenetics where they'd find the switches to dictate those changes, or would that be more embedded in your core DNA?
I think that's embedded more in like the actual sequence, like so the letters that make up DNA to spell out the genes. But a lot of those traits are not as straightforward as some people think. So like I'll take height, for example. Height is controlled by hundreds of genes. So certain things is like very straightforward. Like if you have attached earlobes, like I have detached earlobes. Or
I'm
if you
just
have
going
attached.
for my earlobes now.
Yeah. What do you have?
Detached, I think.
Detached. Okay.
Yeah.
What about Taylor?
Detached as well, yeah.
Detached, okay. Now I can't remember
Raw
what
normal.
Sorry, well, that was your fault.
So that's controlled by one gene. Whether you have a widow's peak or not, I have a very slight widow's peak where like my hair kind of points at the top. If it's really extreme, it almost looks like a vampire kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Think
So-
Vlad the Conqueror.
Right, yes. So like things
Grandpa
like that
Munster.
are like one gene. If you can roll your tongue, that's one gene. People can't see the video, but I'm like doing these
She's
things.
doing
as
the
we
thing.
talk.
Yeah.
She's doing the thing.
But then things like height are like hundreds of genes. And so it's like, wow, that's going to be really complex if, we're kind of creating this, alternative universe where we're starting to do designer babies or something like to say,
like
all right,
building
we
a
want
tower. Like you've got many different
it's
parts
like,
to it
well,
to
yeah,
make it grow. And they've all got to be right at the right time.
It's like Kira was just saying there. I mean, it's like being able to, say, well, this has got one gene, so it's quite easy to dictate.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, when you start getting into the realms of height and the more complex things, it's a different ballpark, isn't it? It must be so complicated to even try and manipulate that. But then that scares me because, if one of those calculations or, changes in that DNA is not right, I mean, what could be the implications there?
like if we started to mess with that in terms of like designer babies.
Aren't we kind of doing that now?
Concerning. What was that, Taylor?
Aren't we kind of doing that now?
Well, that was going to be one of my next questions. I mean, is that a thing now?
Yeah,
or
I
mean,
believe
because
so.
I understand that obviously there's certain countries, the US, the UK, that have ethical concerns about a lot of this stuff, and there's a lot of it that you can probably do a lot of research into, but you can't really do it. Yeah, like.
Right, like we have the ability to do it, but like ethically, we're like, let's hold on.
Yeah, exactly. But there's other countries out there that don't have the same sort of morals and ethics as we do, and therefore,
like you were saying, about
are
stem
they
cells.
already working in these fields? It's the same argument I have when we say about colonizing other planets. It's the laws on this planet don't govern the next place, and it's does that kind of open up the stage for more extreme sciences that you wouldn't have been able to do here on Earth because we've already got this sort of societal argument against it. Well, I don't know. Where do you stand? I mean,
yeah. Well, there was an interesting. I'm trying to remember exactly what year it was. I think it was December. I think it was December 2018, if I'm remembering that right, where there was a scientist out in China that used this relatively new genetic editing technology where you're able to edit DNA, like we've kind of been talking about. And he went ahead and used it on human embryos and then implanted those embryos, and those embryos became babies. So this was major news. Like, I'm still shocked by this, and it's like 4 years later.
2012, I think.
Did you guys hear about this story?
I did.
yeah, I think Taylor did.
Okay.
Yeah, saying.
So basically what the scientist did was he did not have approval from the university he was working with. And worldwide, it was kind of understood that, like, we shouldn't be messing with this yet. We really need to understand more before we start using this in humans.
Totally.
But he went ahead and said, I'm just going to do this, and then I'm going to do it and then tell the world after the babies are born. And they were twins. They were twin girls.
You see, that's where he's kind of gone, because then obviously you've got the ethical conundrum of like, well, no, they're already living now, so...
Right. You can't say don't do it because they're already born. So he edited, and it's interesting what he chose to edit. I still don't really understand. I'm like, there's so many other things that you would think it would be higher on the list. But basically, he changed and edited genes that give the babies, theoretically, more protection against HIV.
Yeah.
Right.
Out of all the things that you would edit, I'm still wondering, like, why choose that one? Like, one that I would think would be, like, higher on the list, coming up with an example is, okay, this embryo has a mutation that's going to lead to a genetic disorder. Let's edit that and give it like the quote unquote correct genetic spelling so that the disorder isn't there. Why not start with that?
Well, then that messes around with the genetics later on as well. With other things, you're turning one thing on and then you'd have to turn something else off.
No, but I mean, I totally understand Kira's perspective there, because she's basically saying, in terms of gives them protection against HIV. Well, what if that baby's not in an environment, or that person doesn't grow up to even contract it? Then it was a pointless experiment. Whereas if you're able to take out something that we know to be a genetic defect that is going to cause problems later on in life, and edit that one out, giving them the correct DNA sequence, then you've got something to monitor. You can look at that life and
did
grow
it work, right?
and say, did it develop with that gene, or did it work, or did the process
the only way
work,
to find
or
out
did it
is
not?
actually produce whatever we're going to do.
So I totally get that.
messing
Why
with the
he
DNA.
did he choose? What other things did he choose to edit in that experiment? So it was literally just that.
Right. But the problem is, so as you said, how do we know if it's worked or not? But also, once you edit an embryo, then those twins, if they decide to have biological children, they will be passing down that edited gene to their children and so on. That's where the issue is, because if we change, like, say I have an eye problem, and, we're able to use this genetic editing technology, give me normal eye cells and inject them into me, right? I'm really going off on a limb here, but I'm not going to pass that on to my biological children because this is in my eye.
Yeah,
it's not in my eggs. So if there's a problem, it ends with me when I die. But if you're changing someone's, what we call the germline genetics, so your DNA that you're born with, then you're passing that on to the next generation if you have biological children. So that's a huge problem, because if there's a problem with these twins, this could keep going for many people, and then it's in the human population.
Exactly.
How actually easy is that to actually occur? I mean, could I?
How easy is it to use the technology?
Well,
scary easy.
We were actually talking about this
for people that are in a research lab, compared to the other types of genetic editing technology, it's so much easier to use and very cheap.
Well, we were talking about it last week on the GMO episode, where we were discussing, if I'm an organic farmer in one field and then I've got a GMO field next to me with a farmer who works and deals in GMO crops, then
with those perfect corn, as you talked about, right?
Yeah. So he's got his perfect field of corn. I've got my slightly manky organic.
Corn.
Yeah, right. But
Tesco's won't take.
If a bee cross-pollinates and contaminates, then my crop of organic stuff's basically been affected by the GMO anyway. In just a sort of layman's terms, that's the sort of same idea, isn't it, really?
Right.
Except for the GMOs have been concentrated to actually turn off and not be able to breed.
Whereas, obviously, these twins, if they grow up to, depending on how many times you've done this, and obviously that brings up the increase.
Could be still doing it now and just hid it and just not said anything.
Well, exactly.
What's happened
obviously, if he was told not to do it anyway, and then he still did.
And would you actually, some people may turn around and say, well, actually, it's a clone. It's not actually a human. It's actually a clone of a human. Let's say if they were twins or something. So then you've also got people on different sides going, well, no, it's not this. It's like church may go,
well,
it's ironic, you shouldn't be doing anything like that.
We've already had Dolly.
What are you going to have?
Dolly the sheep was the clone that was sheep was cloned. She's had about six calves, since. Yeah. So you could say, obviously, in terms of the sheep and lamb population,
and she was named as a clone.
We've got. Was she a clone, or was she kind of? But what
she was cloned from one set of DNA, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's just basically your DNA. I'm going to take your little bit of DNA, put it in the egg.
Well, is that the same?
Procedure.
Well, is that the same? Like as genetically modifying?
I would have thought it's a bit harder than the easy way of doing
harder.
It. But you can do it.
Because you basically, from what I remember, is you take DNA from some organism that you're looking to clone, and you put it into an egg that you've taken the DNA out of, and then you give it a little shock or something. It sounds very science fiction.
Yeah, a bit like Frankenstein's monster.
So and then hopefully they
develop
from there.
There was a lot of tries beforehand, so it wasn't. It's not straightforward.
I mean,
Not
I
as
understand.
easy as the genetic editing that we're talking about with CRISPR is the name of the technology that we were talking about with the babies.
What's the aim of, I mean, genetic manipulation and editing genes? What is the overall goal for that? I mean, what is it more to do with correcting these mutations and, you know, giving people a better chance at life, or is it? Is there more to it? I mean,
it is a Pandora's box if you think about it. It really is. It could go either way. I mean, we've only just reached a small part of it, and we could be, you know, in trouble already. And there's definitely a lot further that it could go. A lot
like we
further.
talked about with like designer babies. Like, are we going to get to that point? Like, if we develop this technology enough where
there's companies
it's safe
doing
and
it.
efficient, and we say, okay, we really know what we're doing with this, and that we're targeting certain genes, and it doesn't end up doing other genes by accident or something like that. Yeah. You know, I think the hope is that we could use this for
good purposes.
You know, like correcting, which I hate to use that term, but like, you know, for lack of a better one, correcting genetic mutations so that a person isn't affected by a genetic disorder. But you know, where does it end, right?
Mutations aren't necessarily bad, not necessarily bad, just because it's mutated. I mean, it could give us clarity for something in the future that actually
like that's how we
need
evolve,
that
right? Is
mutations.
Well,
of course, mutations in evolution, and it's like, well, I mean, it is interesting to think like that, but how we kind of want to kind of get a hold on things and want to kind of understand things, I suppose, as a race,
which
really,
is great,
isn't it?
but you don't jump in with both feet and go, right, I'm going to mess with that and that. You got.
Well, this is what you were saying earlier about it being quite a Pandora's box, and in terms of, you know, designer babies, it's interesting to think, because the only sort of kind of beneficial thing I can think of for that is going, right, how do we sell this as a product, you know, because they won't be saying we can, you know, there will be a price tag attached to this somewhere, you know, and again, moral implications of that.
Well, it's not the morals of the...
that's the
everyone.
company, isn't it? I mean, it's the morals of everybody that. It's not only the person who's paying for the service, but
and who can afford it.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Then you start getting into like only wealthy people can access this technology to either prevent genetic diseases or go to the next level where you're saying we're going to enhance a human in some way.
Yeah, so you're not just... again, where does the human sort of condition come into that, where, you know, there's no... you know, let's say the Olympics, you know, people try out and, you know, work hard to get to that level where they're able to be the best at what they do, just naturally, and then you've got, like, you know, genetically
to actually.
Well, that's another issue, but I mean, if you're genetically programmed to be an athlete, then
longer legs, better endurance, better way to, like, you know, break down oxygen properly.
All these things that go to make an athlete the best, you know, can be instilled genetically. Then does that not take away, you know, the sort of spirit of the game, if you like?
Yeah, but then
it's kind of like the steroid, you know, conversation too. Like, all right, we're saying, okay, you shouldn't use any drug enhancing things to enhance your performance. But it's like, okay, are we going to have rules for this too? Like, how, you know, if it wasn't someone's decision to be born that way, is it really on them then?
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not their fault personally, is it?
Whatever we create, someone's out there is going to abuse it. It doesn't matter what it is, and it's just it's just a thing of making sure either they can't get hold of it or that it takes them a lot longer to deal with.
Also, I can't really say much, to be honest, when I turn around and say, you know, if it happens in nature, then that's great, because, you know, it's natural. So, you know, there's nothing to stop two genetically perfect people coming together and trying to create a genetically perfect baby.
We see that with celebrities all the time, right?
You see it all with your Brad and Angelinas and stuff like that.
That's the thing, you mess with nature, she will bite back, and she bites back hard, and we just regret, we can't do anything after we've done it, realistically.
So you're basically, more concerned about what things could come out.
Well, we're going to change, our environment would change. It doesn't matter even if it was into good stuff or bad stuff. We are going to change with the.
I wanted to ask actually. You know, in terms of genetics, I've been seeing recently a lot of kind of animals that were presumed extinct coming back into the wildlife, and people are spotting them and going, oh, well, we assume that was extinct. Would you say that, you know, in terms of kind of like genetics, that animals have a sort of the capacity to survive in sort of bounce back in these respects? Or do you think this is kind of, because I've heard a couple of conspiracies, like people saying that they're being kind of genetically modified and their experiments and being brought back Jurassic Park style. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you can only do 90-odd%. You won't be able to get 100% on that.
No, of course you wouldn't. It wouldn't be the exact same animal, but it'd be a version.
You want to try it with a mammoth and an elephant, and after the sixth birth, it would be 96.5% DNA matched, apparently.
Right.
Well, so it's interesting you bring up mammoth, because there is a researcher, George Church, that is working on bringing back the woolly mammoth. Like, this is a project that he's been working on. So it's interesting because he's also kind of a major player in terms of this genetic editing technology that we're talking about, CRISPR. So we'll see what happens with it. I mean, I'm really intrigued. I want to chat with him because, you know, I want to see, like, well, where are you at with this research? And, like, you know,
what are you going to do with it and the purpose of it afterwards?
And I mean,
like, what are we going to do if we bring back a woolly mammoth? What's the next step?
Are we going to bring back a dinosaur?
What was it? Because they discovered kind
I think we've
of
seen
like
how
a
that
frozen.
goes. Maybe we shouldn't bring back the dinosaur.
Yeah.
Well,
totally.
I think some of them might be all right, but just don't bring the ones that can kill us
Tyrannosaurus
all.
Rex.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Right, not the scary ones where you're stuck in the Jeep and you can't get out.
Just some big ones with the long necks. You like going swimming.
So, but I mean, do you know
omnivores, herbivores?
Yeah, was that mammoth I mean, is he working with, like, because I know there was a mammoth actually discovered in Siberia, wasn't it? That was one of the most well preserved.
Like cells from fossils, because then you could extract the DNA from that.
Yeah, there was enough DNA in there apparently.
Well, this is what I was wondering actually, because I mean, in terms of, like, you know, how much DNA you're able to kind of work with. I mean, from a fossil. I mean, what's the deal with that? I mean, you know, these. I've heard from you could be totally rebuilt from a flake of dandruff to a bit of skin, a hair follicle. I mean, is that right? I mean, could somebody make a clone of me just by pinching a hair off my head?
Possibly. It depends how intact the DNA is. So I think that's the issue with fossils is, like, okay, how long has that fossil been there? Obviously a long time if it's a fossil. So some of the DNA may be broken down, like degraded. So it may not be, you know, available to read the entire DNA sequence to figure out, okay, what is that? So that you could theoretically, like, you know, bring that species back or that really individual back. But I think it kind of depends on how much DNA you're able to get and, like, what's the quality of that DNA.
Okay. Right. Yeah, because I mean, like, I always found it really fascinating that you think that even one straight strand of hair could contain all the information that makes to make you up. Well, you know,
I got a video of someone who I know who works with DNA, and they actually got a bit of dandruff. Was it dandruff? I think no. It might. I don't know if it was. I can't remember if it was a bit of dandruff. And then no, actually, it was a cell. It was a single cell, and he made a heart out of it with that single cell on its own. In a petri dish. So
I mean, that to me bugs me out, because I mean, how do you program that cell to become exactly what you want? I mean, if it's a cell, then you must need to be able to give it a set of instructions to become. You know, when they grew the ear on the back of the
right,
rat,
like, what are you going to become? Because there's a lot of things you could become on a body. How do you decide whether you're going to be a heart cell, an eye cell, skin cell? So, I mean, it's pretty complex, definitely not my area, but it's cool that we can use what's called stem cells that are basically, like, kind of think of cells in, like, different levels, I guess. So this would be like a level 0 cell where, like, this cell could become anything.
Right. Okay.
So it could become, as we said, like skin, heart cell, muscle cell. And it's usually factors in that environment that then tells it, oh, this is what you should be doing. So it's part of the epigenetics of like turning on or off certain genes, because remember, all of our cells have all of our DNA.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what cell you are, you have all the information, but what makes an eye cell different from a skin cell is which genes are being turned on and which are turned off. So that's the big part, I think, where epigenetics is playing a big role in, like, you know, when we're growing organs in a lab, then we're needing to like turn on certain genes so that they know you should be a heart, don't become a liver.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's really interesting. So, I mean, when it's got to the point where you guys understand epigenetics to a point where you're able to dictate what these stem cells graft to, or turn.
I guess
into.
someone has. I don't fully get it, but someone else.
Well,
has.
I mean, it's impressive that obviously someone has. I mean, where do you think? Where
do you think the future of it's going? Is it going down the right road?
I think the future is that a lot of people, and it's going to become more common to have your genome sequenced.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have had some form of genetic testing at this point, whether that was a direct consumer test like 23andMe, Ancestry, like one of those you spit in a vial and you mail it off and you get results a month later.
Yeah.
Or going to a healthcare provider's office and doing some kind of genetic testing because they're trying to figure out symptoms for a person or a condition or something. But I think instead of doing like, oh, we're going to do a genetic test, oh, we're going to do another one, we're going to do another one, I think we'll get to a point, hopefully, where people are just having their whole genome sequenced. And then we're just going to be looking at that data every time we need to figure something out. So we say, okay, yeah, you seem to be having these symptoms going on. Let's go back to your genome and see if we can look at certain genes that we think might be playing a role in those symptoms you're having. Yeah. So I think that's where we're headed with things, because genetic sequencing has gotten so much cheaper over the years. It used to be really expensive. But now, I mean, you can get your genome done for like a few $1,000s, from my understanding. Right. So it's instead of like $1 million or something where we started from.
Jeez. Wow. I mean, I've never done one of those DNA and testing things, where your ancestry. I was actually
one of those.
I was watching a thing about these the other day, actually, and it was It was a set of twins, and they both did a number of these tests from different companies. And they
identical twins?
Yeah, identical twins, but they wanted to see if the data came back. Identical. And it did came back where they were saying that one of them had ancestry in one part of the world, whereas the other one had somewhere else. But then when they looked a bit deeper into it, it was not 100% accurate. It was like 50%, and basically the other 50% was a ballpark figure. So they would be like, well, we can narrow it down to the continent, but the village, the town, we're just guessing.
Yeah. So this is why I was asking about the mapping, if it's fully complete and that this is where.
Yeah, I know, but I think a lot of these DNA heritage things, is it just recreational sort of science, if you like, just somewhat. So people can just be like, oh, get an idea of my heritage, and but in the fine print, it doesn't exactly give you a full breakdown. I mean, some of them might. I mean, I might be a bit skeptical on this one, but I've never actually done that myself.
And I've done a few of them, and I think one of the main problems is that when the field of genetics started and doing all of the sequencing and starting to understand, how DNA is spelled and like what that all means, we started with people of European ancestry. So we really started with white people. So we understand people of European descent much better than other people in the world. So one of the problems with these tests are that, like, I have ancestry mostly from Ireland. So when I did the test, it can narrow down all the way to say, I'm mostly from East Cork, Ireland. So not even just Ireland, not even Cork, but I'm from East Cork, Ireland, and some others, whatever, and others from other branches of the family. But, from my dad's side, that's a big part of it. Now, if I had ancestry from other countries, if I had ancestry from Africa, it probably would be much more generic because the databases that we have are primarily for people of European descent. We don't have it from people that are, more directly descended from Africa. And that's a huge disparity in genetics. And it's not just a problem in ancestry with this like interesting, kind of fun genetics entertainment, but even when it comes down to medical conditions, because if we find someone has a spelling difference and we say, well, we don't know if this is just human diversity and you're totally healthy, it's no problem from this, or if this is causing a health problem or could cause a health problem for kids, for, someone having biological children. So this is an area that I think like,
does seem like,
as a field, we need to get better at.
How do we correct that? I mean, how do we kind of influence more people to, volunteer their DNA, I suppose, to
That's definitely a part of it.
I mean, would you say to these DNA websites and heritage websites, or would you say more directly, if you like, to the...
Yeah, I think it's more of like on a research standpoint, so more on like the medical side as opposed to these direct consumer companies, 23andMe, Ancestry, them. And obviously there's a lot more. Those are just the most common, at least like in the US, and I'd say the UK probably too. But I think it comes down a lot to how scientists in the scientific community are communicating with just layman people, just people in the population, and saying, this is what we're doing. And this is why we need more people to be partners in research and, donate samples. And so that we can do more research, but to have the transparency there so that people understand, because the scientific community has a bad history, if I'm being blunt, on being transparent and also, treating people equally. And, we look at stories like Henrietta Lacks, who was a Black woman who had her cells taken and wasn't informed and didn't have any consent giving her cells. And we have all of these scientific advancements from her cells. She's we kind of joke in the scientific community that she's done the best reproductively because she has more cells on the planet than any other organism or anything, because labs from all over the world have her cells. And we can thank vaccines for her being able to even culture cells, like we were talking about growing cells in petri dishes, so many scientific advancements because of her cells that she didn't even and her family has not been properly compensated.
I think I was reading about this. Was it a tumor that she had that was removed, and that carried on? It carried on growing itself after she passed away. That was really...
It still is growing. You still have cells that are growing. I've used HeLa cells.
Right, okay. That's amazing.
In a lab.
So, I mean, in terms of like, it is strange to think that this sort of stuff is in a lab. I mean, I didn't really want to go into the what's going on in the world at the moment with the pandemic and stuff, but there are these, things that are kept under lock and key, aren't they? I mean, that are quite naughty, in a lot of respects, quite dangerous. And
yet we're paying for it, for them to make the advancement to tell us the information to advance everyone up.
Well, where I'm going with this is, do you think that, with the pandemic going on, do you think that there's been a lot of kind of, development in the research of genetics and how we're able to use genetics, for medical purposes, or, because I did feel like there was a lot of kind of stuff rushed in, but if it worked, was that a good thing, or was it kind of, does that kind of open the door for other experiments to be done in the future that might not have been able to be, like we were talking, for ethical and moral reasons? Do you reckon that things might happen a bit more quicker now, that since this has happened and the vaccine that needed to be produced?
I think certain things, because a lot of things in life comes down to money. So, with COVID, obviously there's been such a push of like, okay, it's such a top priority to develop treatments and vaccines for COVID, because that's going to help us, really end this pandemic and turn into the endemic part. So I think that's a big part of it, because if we have funding and we have people that are passionate and, really latching on to this, then we're going to get, improvements happening. We see so many organizations for genetic disorders, all things like raising money so that they can have money to spend in terms of lab and do research and everything. And I think too, in terms of just COVID, I think people are more aware of like variants now, because that's now just like in our normal vocabulary.
Yeah.
So, I used to say, and even in this episode, I probably said like mutation stuff, because I'm almost like, people don't know what a variant is, but now I'm like, actually people know what a variant is now. Like that's pretty common. And I think in that sense, people are a little bit more exposed to genetics because we learn about, okay, the Delta variant, the Omicron variant. So I think people understand like, with evolution of a virus and like understanding like, oh, if there's a spelling difference in the DNA, that's what's making it a little bit different. And that Omicron is different from Delta, different from whatever our original virus was. So I think it's both. I think people being more aware of the genetic side of things is good in terms of public education and awareness. And then also just more money being poured, into research is probably going to have a lot of like downstream effects from that.
Excellent.
Now, what do you know about like this the vaccine that come out for this COVID-19? Now, there's supposed to have been, it's a new kind of form of vaccine with using RNA instead of using the DNA form. Could you explain to the viewers a little bit about what you know about that?
Yeah, I can give a shot at it. I'm definitely not a vaccine expert, but I think one thing that people sometimes are like concerned about when they hear it is like, okay, you're injecting me with part of the virus kind of thing, right? And with an mRNA vaccine, we naturally have mRNA in us. So in order for our DNA to be turned into a protein and like actually be like working in the body, mRNA is what is like the transition part of that. So mRNA stands for messenger RNA. So it's literally the messenger between like DNA and then making into a protein. And mRNA doesn't stick around, right? Just like a messenger boy, like they disappear, right? So, so mRNA is being degraded. It's being broken down in the body. So I think that's one aspect that, people may hear about, like, oh, it stays in your body forever. Like, no, it really doesn't. It's being degraded, and it's just training your immune system so that when it sees this certain spike protein, which is a certain protein on the virus, when it sees that, it's already been trained to say, this is foreign. This should not be in our body. We've got to attack this and get rid of it. So I think that's one of it's different from other vaccines because of that, because we're using mRNA and we're targeting basically a certain like flag that COVID's waving and saying, okay, I've got this spike protein here. And then, our army of an immune system called T cells say, oh, there it is. We got to go attack that, get rid of it. And what's a great aspect about this is that as COVID, evolves with these new mutations, as long as that spike protein is there, theoretically, the vaccine should still be working because your body knows to fight the spike protein. And if the spike protein's on the virus, should be, pretty good to go. And at least it decreases your chance of having symptoms that are going to be life-threatening. So, also decreases your chance of having, COVID and everything. But, in general, it's training your body so that it's like, all right, we're fighting this and it's not brand new. So it's kind of studying for a test before you're taking it versus just walking in the test and hoping for the best.
But also now Europe has come out, the scientists in Europe, their board has come out the other day actually saying that if you have too much of it, it could actually destroy your immune system. So you shouldn't have too much of the vaccine.
I've read this thing about this guy who was like literally being paid to go and take vaccine shots for people. Like,
that's terrible.
He'd go in and he'd get the thing done, the card signed or whatever. So, he could, twice, 3 times, he was going in and taking X amount of vaccines. Now, that can't be good for you.
No, he probably had a lot of symptoms too. I know after my third dose, like I was out. I got a Friday night and I wasn't good till Monday morning. And I was happy to be vaccinated and everything, but I'm like, yep, my body is processing this,
Yeah, of course, and that's all it is, isn't it? I mean, it does process it, and like you say, it's almost like giving your DNA that sort of that initial sort of hidey ho, I'm here, and
It's more fast reactive because the COVID is attacking.
Yeah, but it's in such a small.
Like
it's in such a small dose, isn't it, in terms of a vaccine? Because it's just
like,
introducing your body to it in the sense that it's enough for your body to be able to start producing T cells and combat it. Yeah. So
it's like a sneak preview. It's like a trailer to to the movie, right? Like it's just like a little bit.
So it can get to it faster because our normal vaccines aren't as quick as this vaccine was, supposedly.
So, where do you think genetics is
headed?
Well, no, I mean we've kind of discussed that, haven't we? I mean, how fast do you think it's progressed since obviously the mapping of the genome? Do you think that it's like computer power where it's going to get kind of absolutely ridiculous in the terms of like what we can do and how we can manipulate it? What are the kind of like horror stories, or kind of, have you heard of any sort of plans to do anything that you thought was just totally out there, or?
Totally out there. I mean, I think it's interesting to look at like the clinical trials that are happening because, as we talked about, like with CRISPR, the genetic editing technology of like, in my opinion, and a lot of other people in ethics, bioethics, like say, okay, we shouldn't be messing with human embryos where we could pass these on. But it's interesting to see like the clinical trials that are using CRISPR, but on, like cells to be able to help in terms of like cancer and other conditions. So I think that's an area that is really interesting just to see, like, as you said, like how we're going to be using this. And I think CRISPR is just something to like look out for. It's definitely been something I've been focused on just like the past 10 years, just seeing how that's developed.
What is CRISPR in the sense that, I know you were saying it was an editing tool, I suppose. I mean, but what would that look like? I mean, in terms of like a computer, is it a big computer? Is it, what does that look like in terms of, for my own sort of mental image?
It's all like on that molecular scale. But I think about CRISPR like a pair of molecular scissors where it's able to go in exactly to the point you want to in the DNA and say, let's cut out this part of the DNA and then let's introduce another part and then kind of tape up the DNA, fix that. And so then you've basically like either replaced a gene or like introduced a new gene. So it's just really cool. And just as we kind of talked about earlier, just like very relatively easy for researchers and scientists to use in the lab and inexpensive. So where the CRISPR basically just comes in like molecular scissors, cuts it out, paste a new gene in.
And are you able to see that? I mean, in real time as you do it? If you're manipulating a gene, because you do see these sort of things in, in movies, and it's all dead theatrical.
And you're like, that's not how, like when they're like looking at a DNA molecule.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Like, no.
So how do you work with this stuff if it's so minute? This is what I can't get my head around. It's like,
like how do we even sequence a gene? Like it's so tiny, right? Yeah, I mean, there's just so much technology that has been developed to figure out like, okay, how can we figure out like the sequence of a gene, and how can we figure out like, did we cut out the part that we need to or not? And a lot of it is like trial and error, and like, oh, if we did this, and if I'll give an example. So I remember in high school, we had this bacteria, and we had a container of this gene from a jellyfish that makes the jellyfish glow, called P-glow.
Yeah.
And so we were able to take that P-glow gene and insert it into the bacteria. And the reason we knew it worked is because the bacteria started glowing. And we're like, well, obviously that worked because the bacteria wasn't glowing before that.
I've seen this similar thing on monkeys. I've seen a glow in the dark monkey.
Really? I'll have to look that up. Wow.
I think it was a genetic experiment, but glow in the dark animals. And I think it was exactly that, introducing some sort of...
Even plants. I've seen it in plants.
Right.
Yeah. And
you guys talked about that in the GMO
plants.
episode.
Yeah. And there's actual natural... I was watching something the other day about natural plants that let this off anyway.
Well, I found that, again, weird that, we were talking about aubergines and, like, aubergines, how, like, they never used to secrete a venom, and now they're a venomous plant because, you know, they secrete a venom that kills the beasts that we're eating them.
Right,
and
evolution.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it would have done that, but we took another gene and put it into the aubergine plant to make it do that because we knew that it had killed the pest. So, you know, but it wouldn't affect us. So it's weird. I just think, you know, it's clever, don't get me wrong, but I still can't get my head around it. And, it's, you know, there's crazy. A lot of it that, you know, I find it just makes me talk blah, 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 and gibberish because I just can't get my head around it. So, thank you for coming on the show and explaining it to us. You're really, really informative and really, really knowledgeable. Such a pleasure to have you on. What are your plans for the rest of the weekend?
My brother's visiting, so we basically just play board games and chill and have fun.
That sounds all right.
That's really the plan
You're
here.
Beat him this time.
No, thank you for having me on the show. It's always fun. Obviously I love talking about genetics. I've been doing it for 10 years on the show, right? But it's always fun just to also like kick back on episodes like these and, you know, just talk to both of you and just kind of like spitball about like, where could we go with this? How could this work?
Well, I hope we haven't sounded too much like a bunch of dumbasses, but you know.
No, not at all. This is fun conversations. You guys have good questions. You're thinking things through.
Well, you definitely should come on the show again. Yes, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah. Sounds awesome. I mean, how can I not? You guys have these awesome British accents.
Oh, thank you. Excellent. All right, well, there you go. Thank you, Kira. Thank you for coming on, and we'll catch you again next time.
Thank you so much, Taylor.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Kira, for joining us on the show. I love it when we have guests on that can shed a bit of light on what I don't actually understand fully. Because there's bits that I know, brilliant. And like I say, these, you know, you hear stories and you kind of try and follow where this stuff's going, but it's so complex. To have someone like Kira come on the show who can actually like break it down for you. And maybe I was being a bit dumb there towards the end going, but where's it going? You know, where's this going? Because I need to know.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting topic. It is
very interesting.
And there's and she knows her stuff, you know what I mean?
She does, doesn't she? Well, thank you, Kira, again for coming on. Hopefully we'll get you on again in the future. Yes. I'm sure there'll be plenty of questions and, strides in the field that, you know, she'll want to have a chat with us about.
Hey, anytime. So, we're up for that.
See.
Yes.
Always a pleasure. Anyway, we've got some news cracking on with the show. Don't go anywhere, people.
No.
Because I notice on the analytics that people listen to, like, you know, the main thing and then they tail off a little bit.
I know, and you miss even better
stuff.
stuff.
I also noticed that about 50% of you people aren't even subscribed.
Oh, naughty. You should just press that little red button.
Yeah, if you're on YouTube, ring the bell. Do all the business. You know the dance.
Yeah.
You know what? Everyone else, I shouldn't have to tell you how many YouTubers and other content creators tell you on a daily basis to subscribe and ring the bell. You should know by now. Don't make me come round there.
We shouldn't need to tell you anything. You should already be pressing I like it. I've subscribed to it.
Do you know what?
It's going to tell me when it's
one of them, isn't it? It's like, what? Do you need me to fucking blow your nose for you?
Well,
tuck you in at night. Come on.
Some people are like
Come on,
that,
people.
Yeah. Go on, we're running out of tissues. Blow your own nose.
He runs out of tissues.
Yeah, pretty fast, actually.
Man size. Right, anyway, moving on. We've got some news. It's the news. In the news, Kleenex take a dive in their stocks after Taylor quits blowing his nose. Well, anyway, we've got some leading in from Kira's, interview coming on the show. We've got a genetic story kicking off the news. It's a pilot scheme in the UK, which is basically going ahead, which is going to be predictive genetic testing.
Nice.
Well, maybe nice, but it predicts apparently high risk cardiovascular disease. Well, I mean, you could predict it through genetics because obviously, like we were talking about, where apparently a history of like heart disease runs in a family. Then potentially, like that could just be like, well, we already know that based on family history. I mean, how much is it predicting? based on your genetics. I mean, you could just get that data from, just family history. If there's that's why they ask you that question at the doctors, don't they? Is there a history of any of this illness in your family? And you go,
Yes.
and they'll
So
go,
then the
right,
answer is
we
yes.
factor that into your diagnosis, technically speaking. I think that's not out of the realms of the normal, is it? So where does this, play into it? I mean, they're saying that they can predictively test your genetics to identify these high-risk cardiovascular. So that's heart disease, isn't it?
Yeah. They're going on one area where there is other ones out there that actually try and test for everything that you possibly could gain or have.
Well, the NHS pilot scheme is called HEARTS,
right?
Or HEART, and it's offering genetic tests to over 1,000 healthy volunteers aged between 45 to 65 or 64.
Okay. Ooh.
When I'm 64.
I might go in for that.
Oh, bless you. Just get you over. Get him his walking stick.
No, one of them Zimmer frames.
He'll be going for the early bird special while he's on way. 5 o'clock dinner.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Get me water.
So, what do you reckon to that? I mean, in terms of like pilot schemes, I think let's see where it goes. I think they probably get some good results out of that. But I think I'm a bit kind of, I mean, maybe Kara could probably clarify this in terms of what would they glean out of the genetic test that they couldn't get out of family history.
Yeah, very true. Very true. But I think it's more of a looking at them areas. So they're actually they're looking at just the heart and the DNA profile for the heart. They would recognise.
Look into your heart.
Which ones
I've
to
been
turn
singing
on and off.
a lot today. I'm sorry. I can't help it.
Which ones to turn on and off, and
triggers the song lyrics in my head.
Hopefully sorts things out. But then, like we were discussing, that like it depends on who's actually using it, and you can use it for good, but you can use it for bad as well. You know what I mean? It's just
using the technology for evil.
It gives us, and sometimes it actually gives us an area of another area that we didn't even think about that actually
of course,
help out.
Yeah, but that's how generally science works, isn't it? It's
it leads on to something else.
Like how Worcester sauce was invented, or WD-40. It was we were trying to invent one thing, but accidentally made this up by accident.
Yeah, so, which sometimes is good, sometimes is bad. You know what I mean? It depends what you make, really.
Have you seen anything that's piqued your interest this week?
Yes, I have actually. A news blackout on...
Media blackout?
Yeah, on the Canadian drivers who were trying to drive to Oregon, I think it is.
On the Oregon Trail.
Yeah, basically. So
this is
about 35,000 of them.
Is this vaccine related?
It is, and they're not anti-vaxxers like we ain't. They don't want to be told you have to have it, because basically, if you go across the border to America, you've got to wait 14 days and then travel back, make sure you're tested and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And most of the drivers are actually vaccinated.
Well, I think this might be a case of like why that there was a meme going around earlier this week about the president or prime minister of Canada, and he was saying about Putin, crossing the border in the Ukraine, saying make sure that all your soldiers are fully vaccinated before you cross any borders. And I assume that that's some kind of play on that. To an extent.
And it's even happening to American drivers, lorry drivers as well now.
It's just getting stopped at the border. Basically saying it's worth your time getting vaccinated, because otherwise you've got that 14-day quarantine period.
Yeah, but it's also showing now on the shelves, like there's less food being on the shelves and stuff like that, because
it's the supply chains. Yeah, of course. I mean, we're seeing it in the UK because of the Brexit debacle thing, and it's like now we've got these vaccine mandates on people coming into the country, and needing COVID passports to get in the country to an extent. I mean,
well, we work on a 24-hour system of moving of goods that, and basically, if any problem happens between the shipping and to the lorry drivers who go off and deliver it, then it really interrupts.
Of course, it does. Yeah,
you know what I mean, and they're only asking so they can actually go and work, but they don't have to be forced
have a livelihood. Basically, this is the problem with this pandemic. Yeah. It's cost a lot of people livelihoods.
Yeah, lives
and,
as well. Right?
I mean, there's a lot of individual professions that have just been hit. Yeah,
Massively,
and there's a lot of people who've been lucky through it, and they might be in the same job that they were in pre-pandemic, and they've not really been that affected
much,
in that way than some of us. But obviously, there's people in the travel industry, the leisure industry, people who own nightclubs and bars, hospitality. All these different avenues of employment, even like delivery drivers, and
totally.
when they
Big
were considered
employment.
frontline workers, making sure that you had enough toilet roll during the pandemic, and, getting all the stuff you needed, to be locked down at home, then these people were essential, but all of a sudden, same with the nurses, isn't it? It's kind of the same similar situation with the nurses,
shat on,
where they were frontline workers, and at the very beginning of the pandemic, it was like we'll draft in people who were they've not been in the profession for 20 years, but anyone who can do the
Retirees
job. And now all of a sudden it's like you've done your work, you've helped us out, but see you in a bit. And it's the same for a lot of professions. It's not just the medical community, but I mean it's like these lorry drivers have been lorry drivers for years, and all of a sudden they can't do what they do anymore because of restrictions and
because of it destroys company livelihoods.
I mean,
stuff like
I
that.
understand why these restrictions were put in place, but I mean, it's a case of that. There needs to be. It's so forceful
because it's around the world. It's not just Canada and America that are having these issues. I mean, they've been trying to bring it out.
I think everyone's a bit too
media
sensitive
more.
on the borders at the moment as well. Do you know what I mean? With all this. But.
Well, everyone's kicking off though about it, and some of the countries have backed off, like we have. But how far? When are they going to turn around and bring it back on? Because you can sort of.
It's one of those
feel
things
like
where
that it could be dropped at
10 years
minute.
ago. 10 years ago, you'd be like, if something was to happen to this extent, you wouldn't have believed it.
No,
you'd be like, if someone was to say,
I would do that.
This was going to happen, and predict it, you'd be like, nah, you wouldn't have any of it. You'd be like, that's never going to happen, But now we're living in a world where we, the possibility or the idea that a new variant or a new lockdown or, a whole close down of the country is an actual possibility and a reality.
Well,
so whether, if someone was to say that now, I'd be like, it's a possibility. Whereas 10 years ago, it wouldn't even have been like, it gets fucked. That's not even going to be a thing. Do you know what I mean?
That's true. But
what tomorrow brings is anyone's guess, isn't it, really?
What I really liked about about it is how the people now can see how those who we employ, who work for us, and how they work for us. As in, like, how governments work, how fucked up stuff they do, how stuff they bring in to mess with our lives, but they are nice and comfortable doing their kind of
having a party, having a bit of kit,
using frontline workers, but then disrespecting them by not giving them high wages. Or
not even just giving them a high wage.
I
mean,
decent wage to live on,
the wages not in there when they're literally telling you ain't got a wage anymore.
The economics works out great for the country.
Exactly,
and no one gets.
I think this is one of those that we could debate about for a while, but I think we should move on. I found this story. I mean, we're talking again about we were talking about vegans. I had a couple of interesting comments over social media about the episode, and about just comments generally about veganism and the meat-free thing. And a lot of people were saying that the vegan meat-free burgers, sausages, stuff that looks and resembles like meat, is not aimed at vegans. It's aimed at meat eaters. To get them to eat less meat.
I agree with that one.
I totally get where they're coming from, But again, it's like that sort of hiding your dog's medication in peanut butter, to try and bamboozle and kind of confuse them. Like, you psychologically, you're still eating a burger. Don't worry, nothing's changed.
But this is it's what I mean about opening people's eyes. Now people can see how these firms have been fucking with your minds and going, oh, look at this.
Well,
this
again,
is
I've got
worth...
nothing to do. I've got the uttermost respect for the vegan community
want
and
to eat-
vegetarian.
if they
I
want
would
to eat, then
say
fair
that
choice.
I'm a flexitarian in a lot of ways. That I eat very little meat, and I eat a lot
I'm not
more.
really a big meat eater.
Do you know
myself,
what I'm
to be
saying?
honest.
But like, well, there's a company here who wants to pay you.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
me? Yeah, go on then.
Pay whoever,
Yeah, yeah.
Basically, you and your dog.
You could be my dog. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll walk in with you, yeah. You do what?
Thousands of pounds to
yeah.
go vegan just for 3 months. Now this
Just
is
for 3 months?
asking, I mean, in terms of like, what we'll do to make you go vegan. This is
Yeah,
a
this
big
is
one,
bit-
really, isn't
yeah,
it?
Yeah,
So
it's a bit of a cheeky one. Mister.
fancy earning $7,500.
Yes.
Well, while saving the planet, I might add.
Yeah.
Well, this is your opportunity. A pet food company is looking to pay dog owners $30,000 salary pro rata for 3 months. So I think that works out a bit more than $7,000.
I think the dogs will go schizo,
probably
mate.
after tax, isn't it?
Yeah.
But they want you to go vegan along with your dog.
Okay.
So Omni is a plant-based dog food company that's looking for human and canine pairings to do an animal-based product test for 3 months. What do you reckon?
I reckon it's one of them schemes again that,
Well, the human candidate would have to keep a log of their experience
Yeah.
and the pet's experience. And there's a bit of kind of thing to say, like, can animals, have a vegan diet, like dogs, cats, that type of thing. Is it healthy for them? And apparently they've not found any evidence to say it's not.
Well, yeah, healthy food is good for you to a certain
Of course,
degree.
I think,
but you've got to have some of them
give your
bad
dog
fats as well,
some
a little
greens.
bit.
I'm totally down for giving your dog and
Yeah,
cat
yeah.
some
greens.
your
You've got to
vegetables
give it some
and
meat
stuff
as
with
well.
the meat
Yeah.
and giving them a balanced diet like
Yeah,
just
that
like
is it.
anything else.
That is it.
But dogs are notoriously meat eaters. I
Yeah.
think the hunters. People forget, going back into the DNA side of things,
yeah.
that dogs are bred
On me.
and domesticated by humans. They used to be wolves. The dogs didn't exist until humans domesticated them.
Yeah.
And the variety of dogs we've got now comes down to selection. And you get different breeds by crossbreeding, and you get your pure breeds, but they're still not pure because they were genetically bred out. It's been bred out of them over years.
Yeah, that's right.
So
There's one word that comes to
so
mind.
technically speaking, I mean, is giving him a vegan diet any different? I mean, we've look what we've kind of done with the canine, over the generations.
Well, so now we're going to turn all the canines into
vegetarians.
So they're going to eat our grass instead of the local
man,
sheep.
get them out mowing the lawn.
Well, that's a good idea actually for the future, maybe.
Get the dog out.
There's just one word that comes to mind to me on this
crazy,
kind of
isn't
stuff, and the word it's called moderation. Moderate what you eat. Moderate a little bit of meat, a little bit of veg, a little bit of.
You don't have to trick people
Exactly.
into eating something just because, like, mum can get away with putting it on the plate and the kids don't realise that they're eating vegetables rather than meat.
Yeah,
because that's kind of what it seems like they're doing.
Well, I
It's
totally
like,
agree. Yeah,
kids won't eat the vegetables, won't they, mum? Well, you can get them a burger and they'll eat it and think it's just a normal burger.
Yeah. Well, they do eat vegetables quite a lot because kids love chips, but chips is an actual vegetable.
I don't think, but the nutritional value in a
fat
potato
around it.
isn't like, it's not one of your 5 a day, is it, a potato?
Oh, yeah.
Nah.
Yeah.
Potatoes aren't one of your 5 a day.
Yeah. Mash.
No.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not having it.
I'm
Google
having
it.
it.
You Google it.
I'll Google it.
He's going to Google that while I go into the next story. Right. So, talking about, vaccinations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's, he is Googling.
Yeah, it's coming up.
Right. So, what's it? Joe Rogan. He's kind of talks a lot about vaccinations and stuff like that. But I mean, I think he's got quite a heavy opinion on it. There's been a few artists this week that have basically turned round and said,
Breaking news.
Wait.
You're right. You're right.
I know I'm right.
It's not considered a 5 a day.
Yep.
I can't believe that.
I could have.
I love chips.
Oh, no, I love it. Who doesn't love chips? But they're not one of your 5 a day. I'm
But
sorry.
it comes out of the ground. It's a vegetable. Bang! It should be one of your 5
Well,
a day.
that's where I think most people are going wrong.
Well,
they're only having 4 a day.
That's the
thinking
crisp
that
gone now, then.
They're having a potato.
Yeah. Bastard.
There you go. Well, like I say, getting back to more important topics.
You go for it.
Joe Rogan's podcast has been accused of being like, giving out wrong information.
Yeah, he's been criticised.
Bad information.
Yeah.
But it's led to a lot of musical artists pulling their music off Spotify because Joe Rogan is
on Spotify.
On Spotify, he's
Little Crybaby,
an exclusive podcast to Spotify. So
now that's coming political.
Well,
now, why is that coming political?
they're like, cool, because they believe that he's spreading wrong information or misinformation to the public. So therefore, they don't want to be on the same platform as them, and that's perfectly fine by them. If they want to remove themselves.
Yeah.
Neil Young has had his music removed from Spotify after an open letter that said the Joe Rogan experience was spreading false information about vaccines.
See, I like a bit of Neil Young, but you know what? Yeah, old shit, mate. Fuck off then if you don't want to do it.
On the flip side, though, I don't think Joe Rogan might be a bit of a fan, but James Blunt has threatened to release new music on Spotify in protest against Joe Rogan.
Oh my God, the crowds will be going wild now. Who's James Blunt?
James Blunt. James Blunt. I mean, you're beautiful.
Yeah, that fella.
It's true.
Yeah. He was in a war with a guitar and went.
So James Blunt's threatening to actually release new music in protest to James.
We can't
Joe
have that.
Rogan.
No.
What have you done to us, Joe?
Yeah. Oh, fuck, man.
Like, we need that.
Yeah. More trouble after all what's going on.
I know. You're not satisfied with a pandemic. You want more James Blunt.
We're definitely going into death ages, aren't we, with that shit?
Yeah, well, come on, mate. You're just going to have to get James Blunt off my mind now.
Yeah,
come on, give us another story.
Well, what about then Sweden? We did say before. Well, Sweden are digging a deep hole, one of the first big deep holes, to bury nuclear waste.
Right. Okay.
So they're
digging a big hole.
They're spending $12 billion on bunkers.
I told you last week how you get a big hole dug without spending $12 billion.
Just wait for a meteor strike.
No. If you want to know how, listen to last week's show.
Yeah,
but no, I don't believe that. I think what they're doing there is they're just trying to cover up the cracks with by burying it all. Burying the filth.
Yeah. But instead of putting it in a landfill, just fucking put it in the ground instead.
But that is what essentially a landfill is,
which is which possibly could toxic the area and even wider, even into water supply.
At the end of the day, a lot of this stuff that's buried is general waste and doesn't decompose. Burying it isn't the answer, really, is it?
100,000 years it should be decomposed by.
Well, that's something to look forward to.
So that's a little time, isn't it, realistically?
Sweden used to be a nice place.
Yeah, it did. I can't believe
I'm pretty sure it is lovely. If you want anyone in Sweden want to bring us over to Sweden,
but we don't know what's underground now, you know what I mean?
Same goes to Canada.
Yeah. There's a lot of lovely countries
out there. In.
And they're all getting wrecked at the minute just because of, fucking politicians, basically.
I know. What's going on at the minute?
I know. It's like a worldwide dictatorship or something. They're trying to... Well, they are. They're trying to get their way, aren't they?
Whoa, Joe Rogan.
Yeah, we don't want to be sent off... getting people coming off Spotify for being on it.
Yeah, I don't want my favourite artist coming off Spotify because I've said something that they didn't agree with.
Oh, well, you go. Thousands more will turn up.
I'll be like, you're all right? Yeah. I got the CD.
Yeah, exactly.
I downloaded your illegally.
Yeah. And no doubt someone will go on and go, you know what? Let's play it.
I just literally, that would be it. But you know what? Funny enough, if I was Joe Rogan,
I'd be laughing my tits off.
No, my next episode would be all Neil Young songs.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, or Punchline somewhere along there in there,
Well, just Neil Young songs and Tracy Chapman. Or
just sit there just listening to his songs.
Listening to his songs because at the end of the day, they might take their music down, but you can put their music back up on Spotify and he's got through your podcast. To pay for and if they copyright strike him, he'll just be like, it was funny for...
You're not going to get rid of me.
Even if he took it down the same day, it'd still be funny.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? If Joe Rogan's listening to it, do it, son, do it.
Just get a Neil Young impersonator in, just to play his songs in the background on a stool.
Yeah, even better.
Yeah,
even better.
That'd be fun.
Yeah,
I love Neil Young.
Artists think they can control
But no,
everyone
I'm
else's voice.
No offence, just
No.
that it'd be a comedic thing to do.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good one.
Fair play.
Copywritten.
Copyright. I found this story. I mean, I thought was a bit extreme. It's about a Chinese man who apparently tried to kill himself.
What?
Yeah, right. I know. Yeah, like after he said once they found out, calmed him down and all that. Yeah. He said he was ashamed that his son was still single at 29.
No, 29. Oh my days.
I mean, it's a bit extreme, isn't it? I mean, the shame of it. The shame of it.
Shame.
What's wrong with his son?
Well, I think it's a dishonour, isn't it, over...
Jimmy collapsed
Over
in
in
a
the
train
Middle East.
station, reportedly expressed shame that his son was still single. He survived what he thought was a suicide attempt and said that he was a suicide attempt. But he was ended up in hospital getting treatment.
Right.
I mean...
What do you think?
Well, I'm single at 40, so my dad would have fucking offed himself years ago, wouldn't he, in dishonour?
Yeah, same here.
I think that it's a bit too
extreme. It might be an honour thing. I don't know. It's like, it could be that he was depressed or something, or that, like, he's just...
I don't know, man. I think like this, a lot of
like
kind
there's
of
more to it than
it sounds like there's a bit more to it.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, according to local TV news outlet K News, the unnamed 55-year-old handed a note to the guards on the 22nd of January, just saying that he'd overdosed. And then when they got to him, he basically said that he was the reason why he killed himself.
So he didn't really
was trying to kill himself. The son said people of his age in the village all have children and grandchildren already, so he's reported to be adding like I'm 29 and I'm still single.
Right.
He's just not found the right one yet. Do you know what I mean?
That's it. He's still plenty of fish in the sea, and he might
is.
not be ready. He's playing the field. He might be playing the field and going like, "I'll marry her when I've finished."
Oh, that's of course, yeah.
When I've finished playing the field,
When I've sold my oats, sold my oats.
Yeah, young man's game, man.
Is 29 still young? I think 29 is still pretty young.
I think he's young.
Well, it's younger than me, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly.
So
40's not old. I mean, when some statistics come out the other year, and it was
life begins at 40.
Yeah, but then it wasn't. It was life begins at 50. And then it's like...
Stop moving the goalpost, man,
it
because
seems like
it's like
10
literally
years ahead.
Every time I get to the benchmark, they move it.
Yeah, it's like my pension. 65, no, 72. What?
I found this story quite amusing. So a 19-year-old student had built a flight tracking app bot.
Oh, right,
thing,
okay.
Twitter bot.
Clever, lad.
But apparently Elon Musk tried to pay him to stop.
Oh, quid's in.
Oh, mate, you're doing something right if you're getting Elon Musk messaging you. And that's exactly what happened, because Elon Musk basically opened a conversation with the 19-year-old, Jack Sweeney, over a Twitter DM. So Elon Musk slid into his DMs, and he basically said to him that you've invented this tracker, you're going to have to take it down. So he said he got this message about midnight, and he was just like, what the fuck? Is this really Elon Musk?
Yeah.
And it was.
Yeah.
And he's basically said that the app that he created, or the bot that he created, was a flight security risk, and that he'd have to basically cease and desist. So this kid played it super cool, right? Didn't respond to Elon Musk straight away.
God, how much did he
Left it about 6 hours.
6 hours? Yeah.
Right?
Now that's keeping someone waiting.
Then messaged him back going, yeah, I can take it down, Elon, no problem.
Yeah.
You're going to have to pay me, though.
Hell yeah, I made this shit up. You know what I mean?
So he basically said that he wanted a Model 3. So I'm assuming that's a plane.
Yeah.
But then he said, I'm only joking, unless... question mark.
Yeah.
So obviously he wasn't joking. He's like, I'm joking. No, I'm not. But I am really. Nah, I'm not really.
Yeah, if you've got it in the heart to give me something in return, then I wouldn't, say bad words about it.
Well, Musk apparently said he'd think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got to, because if he doesn't, what's the kid going to do? Right.
Oh, I
everyone
reckon
in
the Model
area.
3. Do you know what I reckon the Model 3 is?
What?
A Tesla. His car.
Yes. Yeah,
I reckon.
It could be,
I reckon it probably is, I don't know enough about cars to know that if that is legit.
On the Model 5?
Maybe it's a fucking rocket. Maybe it's like a precursor to the Falcon 9.
Yeah,
It's like, can I have a Model 3?
Well, he's into
what are you going
loads
to do
of stuff, innit?
What are you going to do with it?
I'm surprised Elon Musk didn't go, hold on, I'll build something here, stop it.
Well, so far he hasn't paid him anything. So, you know.
Come on, Elon, get your hand in your pocket. You've got
Come on.
change down there.
Especially if he did what you asked him to do as well.
200 quid, bang.
200
Nothing out of
quid?
your pocket.
200 quid?
Yeah, well, realistically,
Off
I'd
Elon
want more.
Musk,
Yeah.
the Duke of fucking Techno King.
Yeah, what, second richest man?
Yeah.
Yeah, but, you know, at the end of the day, that's not a lot to him, but it would be to the 19-year-old, you know what I mean?
200 quid.
That's a good night out.
200 quid's not a lot to anyone these days.
Yeah, I know, but, you know,
I don't know whoever said that was real big money, but 200 quid.
Someone who hasn't got it?
Well, nah, mate. Exactly, yeah. 200 quid's a lot of money, but it's not going far.
Oh,
and
yeah,
it's not
I'd
even a
want
lot
more.
of money anymore. Hey, mate, right? In the 1960s in England, you could probably buy a house for 500 quid.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, right. Do you know how much you're going to pay for a house in just a general house in England now at the moment?
Yeah, you're talking
A nice house,
thousands.
$500,000.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, how is anyone expected to get on the property market?
Oh, yeah,
these days?
I know.
You know,
It's stupid.
I feel sorry for the young uns because they've got no choice. But I mean,
But
anyway, if I can't
Anyway.
get on it,
No.
don't know how they're going to get on it.
Well, that is true.
Give us some news. Give us some good news.
All right, I'll give you some good news, but it is with a little bit of bad news in there. And I've said this before.
Always does.
It does, sorry, but it's news. Stock market crash. They reckon it is
Well,
because
hold on,
the $3 trillion that
I put
the
all my money in
Americans
OJ.
made to come out
Not OJ,
to look after
Simpson.
themselves. When
Orange juice.
to stock up the stock market, but no one's buying and selling because they were indoors and shit like that.
Stock
and-
market is something you can do at home.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But there wasn't a lot of shifting going on. So if you listen to the Warren Buffett, who's the man to listen to on this kind of shit.
Jimmy Buffett.
No, Mr. Warren Buffett, and
Buffett.
he's decided to sell his stocks from stock market and go and buy into the UK stock market.
Oh, right.
So it's going to be good for the UK, but
Well,
terrible for the Americans.
I had this idea that maybe, like, you know, we've left Europe now, yeah, and we're already the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
It's like, come and join us.
Great Britain.
Why don't
Come and
everyone join
Great
us?
Britain.
Join the United Kingdom.
Why didn't they
It's all
do that in
good.
the first place?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
do
We
it.
would have sorted this shit out around the world.
It's like these openings.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can open negotiations with the next guy in charge. You know, give it a couple of weeks and you can give him a ring.
Yeah, well, yeah, you know, we're flexible as long as we, you know, you do as we say.
But well, that's well, maybe
Yeah, do as we
That-
say, and we can get everything.
That might put
sorted
people
out.
off.
Well,
But
yeah, it depends who's in charge as well.
Come and join the next bountiful UK empire.
Legend.
No, I'm
Yeah,
only messing. I'm only joking. I don't want to be saying shit like that. But I thought that might be a route. You know, instead of being in Europe, obviously people join Europe, and
Yeah.
like, you know, that's, you know, an idea. But you know, if
We should have, but I think we've got the capacity to help people out and help countries out and make good decisions.
be an ally to them,
Yeah.
but not necessarily
But not-
be in a situation where we dictate what other
Yeah.
countries do. And I don't think anyone should. I think you
Yeah.
should be in charge of your sovereign nation, I
Yeah,
suppose,
exactly. Yeah,
and
yeah,
be
yeah.
able
well,
to.
the people should be in charge
Well, the
of the
people.
sovereign nation.
So, like, you know, in terms of, like, you know, what's going on in Ukraine at the moment,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They're saying, "Nah, you're part of Russia," and they're saying, "We're not."
Yeah.
We're Ukraine. We don't even speak your language. We speak something else. Yeah, right.
Talking
we
of
are
Ukraine.
a country of our own. Yeah,
We are,
right.
yeah.
And the fact is, it's like that's what we fought 2 world wars for. You know, to be able to. No one's allowed to kind of invade another country. Yeah.
Yeah, but
That was-
Putin's
that
saying
was
he's not
part of it.
invading.
Well, no, because he thinks he's not invading because he thinks that's still part of Russia potentially.
Yeah, but NATO does have a little bit to blame about this because basically the agreement in the 90s, the 80s and the 90s, that we wouldn't take Ukraine, and because if we take Ukraine,
We don't want to take Ukraine.
No,
Let them have
they want to
Ukraine.
join NATO. But
Oh,
if
yeah,
they
yeah.
join NATO, they join they're
worried.
And
They only don't want Ukraine to join NATO is because they don't want to be surrounded by NATO allies.
Yeah,
right.
Basically, because we will shove a base in there.
They're pretty much flanked there anyway. They don't want bases and things on the border using Ukraine as a
basically they
base,
don't want a base there.
Right?
And they know it will happen.
But
with
technically
what happened
speaking,
in Yugoslavia.
there's a number of other European NATO countries on the borders of Russia. Where they could do any of that at any point anyway.
And
do you know what I mean? So why is the Ukraine
the
so important?
Because that is the final straw. There was agreements. There was not written agreements, but there were verbal agreements with Russia and the rest of the world, basically. That if we don't want NATO to come any closer to our defence borders, so you stay away from our borders and we won't go into theirs. But then they attacked Georgia. Then they attacked Yugoslavia, but they only took certain part of Yugoslavia. But that was because there was people living there who were more
leaning towards
Russia.
Yeah, because there was talk of Putin basically planting a Ukrainian leader who was pro-Russia. Do you know? So basically putting in a patsy in government who was more likely to say, "Nah, it's a good idea. Let's go that way."
And Biden isn't helping either with writing letters to Putin saying like, "We know you're going to do a little strike beforehand," because actually the CIA were the first ones to come out after it sounded like the war was going to start. That they were going to do a little proxy war.
Stupid little fucking pushy shovey games, isn't it? And I think it's like,
but there is more something.
I've always said, there's a YouTube channel like backyard boxing.
Oh,
they get, rather than having a dispute spill out into the streets and have gang warfare and all the rest of it. They get these two people into a ring and say, right,
kick it out.
You fight it out in a professional boxing sense, in
David
the
and
loosest, definition.
Yeah,
right. And whoever wins, and there's no more said about it. Yeah, right.
Yeah, it don't work that way.
I know it doesn't, but it'd be an ideal world if these fucking world leaders could sort it out between themselves rather than bringing in fucking civilians.
Then we need to go back to swords
and getting people kind of killed. It's piss take. Anyway,
it's what
I say.
Boris is on a news story that Boris is on his way to Yugoslavia and he's
where's he got a new job?
Call. He's having a phone call with Putin.
What's he doing? Has he got a new job, leader of Ukraine?
I think he's going in there and going, can you help me? Because we've got problems at the minute.
It's all about fucking like stupidly spy stuff nowadays, isn't it? China even at the moment, they're hosting the Beijing Games.
Oh, yeah.
It's Winter Olympics and the normal Olympics. First country to do both, apparently, the Beijing Winter Olympics, there's no natural snow.
No.
They've spent, this is two stories in one, right? Yeah. But basically, they've spent billions of dollars, whatever they spend, in creating artificial snow, right? And there's been a bit of an uproar in the community because basically where they're holding it, they have a water shortage.
Oh,
right? And they're pumping gallons and gallons and gallons of water, millions of gallons of water
from around them
to create artificial snow, right?
Shit.
Now, this
I thought it was bad that they camped down the road.
Now, they've actually bubbled them off, so anyone visiting the Winter Olympics Games has to stay within the confines of the place,
Right, okay.
the arena and everything, and they're not allowed to leave because of COVID. They're really strict about COVID.
Yeah, they
are. Going into the main story, China have basically said that the US are planning to pay athletes, right, $7,500 to go vegan. I mean,
with your dog.
They were going to pay athletes to sabotage the Beijing Games. I don't know how they'd manage to do that.
Well, they're going to melt the snow.
It's like send them in with fake COVID passports and infect everybody.
We know that, stuff you throw over the ice.
What, grit?
Grit, yeah. They're going to have them in the shoes and
salt
the back
sachets.
and they're walking around, sprinkling them all
maybe,
around.
like Shawshank.
Yeah, writing notes in the snow.
Maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe they're going in with like pocket full of, like
little beads of something that melts
de-icer.
Yeah.
Spraying the toboggan run with de-icer.
Yeah, but then you'd have to walk it, wouldn't you?
Well, I don't know, mate. Honestly, I mean, you won't win no gold medals, would you?
Well, no. Bit slippy as well.
But yeah, they're saying that they suspect the US are going to be paying the US
Yeah, but that's
athletes.
because the US and Britain and some of the other, those who sit in the top seats with them are not turning up, or the dignitaries and stuff like that. They've turned around and gone, we're boycotting you.
Why?
Sorry, mate. Because of how they've been treating the Wakers, and then you've got the pandemic. I suppose that's a little bit of what they're doing to Australia.
It's one of them, isn't it? It's like the
India as well.
Do you know that Ancient Aliens, when he's like, I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens. Yeah. Now just replace China with aliens. It's like, I'm not saying it's China.
I'll tell you what. Well, about a year ago, there was a little fight on top of the mountains between China and Indian soldiers. Yeah, where a major got chucked off, basically.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a fight there. Right now there's been troops there since then. Yeah. Now the troops have moved out, and guess what's walked in? Robots. Yeah, robots that are being sent. What was it? 280 of them have been sent up there to guard the hillside because their soldiers were having problem breathing because it's such high height that they couldn't breathe properly, so they were having problems. So they've ended up sending up these robots. It's a game changer, this one.
Right,
and it looks like, when you see Bomb Squad robots going on tracks, going up to cars and stuff like that. Well, it's just basically one of them with a machine gun on top with a camera on the side of it. And, it looks like that's the next stage to a part of warfare.
Okay, there's a new series that's starting, actually. I think it's on Netflix. And it's about robot uprising. Like in the future. I'm trying to find out what it's called. I think it's called Big Bug or something like that. Yeah, let me find it.
Yeah. All right then. Well,
it's a new series. It's basically about the future. We're overly reliant on technology, robots, to handle our security, to handle our cleaning, everyday shit. Bit kind of like Wall-E, right? And we're just lazy, kind of subservient to robots, and they make the decision that we're obsolete and lock us all down. And it's basically like, for our protection, we need you to stay indoors. And it's like, well, are we by this point we're not being protected, we're being prisoned. It's
like iRobot.
Basically. And there's a new series that's starting on Netflix shortly. I think it's called Big Bug.
See, and scientists are seriously looking into this, because it is a possibility that it could happen.
Maybe.
You know what I mean? Because
just
we haven't got control of. Well,
we knew this.
This is the thing with diseases and shit like this, but we still went out and went, let's see what we do if we do this. Ooh, dangerous.
Yeah, danger.
And
danger, Will Robinson.
Well, they like to go a bit too far, you know what I mean? And it's like, hold off. Proper specialise in it first before you actually attempt to do something that could be drastic and world changing.
It is something a bit drastic.
Oh yeah.
Going on to NASA news.
Yeah, NASA.
We're gonna just get in our spaceships and beam off to find some NASA news. UFOs on the rise.
Yes.
Again.
Keep coming. Yeah.
I love. You know what? I've been starting to watch Doctor Who again, and he says something. The David Tennant one. He's like, one of my favourite Doctor Who's, and he turns around and he says, every day you're sending out new probes and signals and fucking this, that, and the other. and we're noisy, and we're getting noisier.
Yeah.
You know, it's only a matter of time before we start attracting attention and people start noticing the planet. If they're not already. And, you know, if there are other species out there, you know, they're probably looking for the same things we're looking for. Signals, fucking signs of life. And stands to reason they might come and visit if they've got the technology. And it seems they have, because Pennsylvania is among the top 10 states in America where UFO sightings have been on the increase. Studies shown. It's basically one of those. Pennsylvania basically takes the top spot most times.
It's where the Glocken was found.
Well, it recorded a number of 3,517 UFO flying somethings or other in the Keystone State, allowing for it to sit on the list at the number 6 spot. That was according to reports.
Sweet. I'm just
but now
glad
it's
having more reports.
Gone from, like, you know, keeps going up.
Yeah, which is good in one way. In another way, I don't know if it is so good, because we don't know who's actually taking in charge.
Well, there seems to be a lot in the UK. I'm a member of, like, the podcast's a member of a lot of, like, UFO groups and stuff on Facebook.
Yeah.
And there's always a new video of somebody going, I've just spotted this. Southampton seems to be a big one.
Leeds does as well.
For UFOs. We're interested. If you've got a video, if you've spotted something in the sky, send it over, because we would feature you.
Exactly.
And have a chat about it.
Definitely.
Have you got anything you want to go into NASA news related? I've got a few.
Well, if you've had problems with your electric, your phones, you know, like when you've been having them phone calls, it's like, fucking hell, they've gone again. Give it a couple of seconds and you're back on, like, well, what happened then? Well, it might be because we got hit, like, yesterday by a solar flare. A small one, wasn't damaging, but it's few electrical, you know, issues like people have been having. That's because these solar flares have been hitting us, but they haven't been. They're a G1 between G1 and G5. G5 is drastic, but G1s, and it was less than that, to be honest. So
right, okay.
So if you
so it wasn't an extreme one.
No, it wasn't an extreme one.
Because we talked about
this. There's been a lot of movement
but
going, but it's a bit quiet the last couple of days.
Funny you should say about, like, you know, energy outages and stuff. Yeah. I found this video, and I'll post it actually on Twitter or something, because it was really interesting that it was basically free energy, right? And you can build a motor that takes no fuel,
right?
It's self-perpetuating, so basically it won't stop unless you stop it, right? And it can create enough power to run your power tools.
What are you doing? You're gonna get a shot.
What?
No, this is governments are going to hear this and
seriously,
go, like, I'm fucking
a lot of
this.
people have basically disputed it and said, mate, you'd be world famous if you invented this. But it's not even like something that's uncommon. It's like you know, it's basically Tesla technology, right? And it takes a car alternator, with a few modifications, and a motor, right? And once you start it up with no petrol, no kind of no fuel, it self-perpetuates and creates energy. It's all about amplifying the AC current, rather than using the direct current.
Instead of the current being lost, it actually goes right back in and comes
and
back
amplifies
out, so
you can actually, like, you know, you can take a minimal bit of energy and
use that on build, and you can
basically to use an alternator to turn it into you know, an amplified current. And the video is so interesting, and it kind of got me thinking, like, if it's that easy to do, why aren't we looking into this on a bigger scale for, you know,
because of
alternative energies and stuff, you know?
Simple.
It's crazy.
Because of the big corporations who come in, or the governments who come in and take it away.
So, like, electromagnetism, I think it's using electromagnetism as well, and I mean, it's super cool.
Done over this kind of stuff, and they've made so many brilliant machines, and it's a case of, Yeah, but you ain't going to make us any money.
Well, it's a video that's gone viral. What I'll do is I'll make sure I post it on Twitter.
Did a show on it, didn't we?
Yeah, well, what inventions that basically were suppressed.
Yeah.
It happens all the time, doesn't it? And it's funny that once we're living in an age that, it is a blessing and a curse, where this information isn't suppressed as well as it used to be, because it's one person puts it out, and if it's viral,
world hit, then you can't take it.
You can't take it away.
Everywhere,
it's gone. Everyone knows now. And it's one of those where it kind of got me thinking, could I build one of these?
Yeah, and you could, but the only problem is you'll get in trouble.
Why? Why would you get in trouble for supplying your own energy? At the end of the day, if I've got solar panels on my own,
you're not paying out for it.
So.
Yeah, well, that's why corporations
corporations exist, and they make their
stop
money.
You to make money, so they can make money.
All right, then. So what about so if I turn around and said, right, I'm building an eco house, I'm going to put solar panels on my roof, I'm going to generate my own energy. I'm not going to have like Norweb or British Gas coming round and going, yeah, you should be buying your energy off us. What you doing? You can't have these solar panels. It's totally down to me if I want to use alternate energy. They can't dictate to me, and as much as they'd love to, they probably charge me for capping their supply, or charge me for disconnecting their meter.
Why ain't you got no water? Why ain't you got no gas? Why ain't you got no electric? I'm going to come round there and we're going to take your house off you.
There's nothing illegal about generating your own power.
But if it doesn't make money, then they want to take it away. And it's plain and simple.
Well, that's exactly right.
It's fucking bullshit.
Literally, if everybody built one of these motors, and put it in your house, maybe you might need, I don't know how big.
We're going to be lucky if we don't get shut down now because of that.
How much energy it could generate, right? But even if it generated enough to run your kitchen, that's still saving you money on your major energy bills.
And you must be able to charge it up, put a little bit more energy. Well, no, if you had 14 amp and you want to put 24 amp.
It is funny. We're totally gone off topic here, but basically you can, because it's been proven that, say, if you were running a light bulb off a battery, right? You'll get minimal current. It'll get as much power as that battery can generate. Now, I've already said that motor that we were talking about there was self-perpetuating, right? And you could run it with no petrol, right? But they were in this other thing I was seeing. It was basically using the same similar setup, right, of an alternator and a motor, right? But instead of being able to self-perpetuate the alternator to keep the motor running, he hooked these same batteries that he used to run the light bulb up to the alternator, which amplified the battery current.
Right, that's what I mean,
So rather than it just running off the drain of battery energy that it was coming out of, it was pumping that same amount of energy into the alternator, which was then amping it up. Right? That amped energy was able to run 10 light bulbs. Do you know what I mean? But that was just literally being able to use energy efficiently, whereas, what we do now with like batteries and the amount that end up in landfills ridiculous.
Exactly.
But the point being is that energy in that battery can be, quadrupled, and you can get a lot more out of it.
And a lot less waste.
Well, it's using exactly the same amount of energy. But it's what happens after it leaves the battery that amplifies it. Do you know what I mean? So the battery will not run out quicker. No. Because it's not using any more energy than it was using originally to run one light bulb. So anyway,
it's smart technology, but like,
if you find it interesting,
yes, we have had a discussion about it. Maybe go back and have a little look at it. See what
maybe we might revisit that.
It's a good topic.
The thing about technology is it can actually fail you, and SpaceX is dealing with it at the moment because obviously,
why now? What's going on?
Well, they're obviously trying to send up as many rockets as they can. They're trying to get the Starlink up and running. They're trying to get supplies out, trying to do what they're doing. And they keep getting delay after delay due to bad weather.
Break issues.
I'm not being funny, Elon. Just don't schedule all your rockets in the middle of winter. You know what I mean?
It's not...
Try and get them all out in the summer months. You probably have a bit more success.
Yeah, but I think it's a little different for him because he can go up and then go, right, I can drop my craft back down, bang. You know what I mean? It's just a case of weather does...
Well, no, he can't. How much money does it cost to schedule one of these things just to have it cancelled?
It's all on the day, and don't forget we can only predict up to 4 days. After 4 days, it is one of them we estimate, and
What, the weather?
Yeah.
I think the best way to predict the weather is to look out the window. Because
but if you want to have a look what it's going to be like next week,
it can be a bit.
Well, yeah, but this is it. They can only say they can only work up to 4 days on nearly a guarantee. The rest of the time, then they say like next week it's going to be they're just estimating and probabilities that it's not going to anything like that. But America at the minute have got like cold weather. Cold weather is just come in.
This is they're trying to at the moment the rockets that they're trying to send up for Starlink for over Italy.
Yeah.
So obviously I don't know if they're having bad weather, but obviously the launch is being delayed. Anything you've seen? I've got a really interesting one here.
Yeah, go for it.
Basically, there was a picture that's got. I must be saying viral about 50 times in this episode, but it's a picture that did go viral recently, it's an insane picture of an astronaut, Bruce Cadlis, he was the first person to conduct an untethered flight in space. Yeah. So he was basically just floating off into space. He only had risked it for a biscuit.
He did indeed,
and he only had a little life support system.
Yeah.
And there was some kind of controversy about whether the image that had gone round the internet was legit or not, right? Whether this guy did it or not.
Well, we know what NASA's like, you know what I mean? They do like to hide things.
Well, no, I can say, confirm for sure that this was a real event.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Now, the guy did do the untethered flight. It was back in 1984.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the images... Obviously, people were tweeting saying, welcome to the wonderful world of image compressions, finding fault and trying to prove that this image was bogus, basically.
We can't blame some people, you know what I mean?
No, it's a great image, but, it basically depicts this astronaut floating above the Earth and you've got the mountain ranges below. Yeah. Now, credit where credit's due, these people were not wrong. There is some manipulation in the image, and it is the range, the mountain range. So it does look too good,
to be true. And the bottom half is,
but obviously,
the top half is true.
Yeah, the top half is true.
Yeah.
He did it in 1984. Google him.
Yeah. In fact, there was 2 of them that did it short time and then come back in, and it was their first flight. And if they didn't do that, then we probably couldn't do some of the things that we do up there now.
There you go.
Yeah.
But I think he's a braver fucking guy than most of these astronauts now. Because, you see him in these sci-fi movies where, it's like that's the harrowing bit of space travel, isn't it? Where they have to do the moonwalk and then they suddenly get forced off the ship in a sort of...
Gravity, the film Gravity.
Untethered way, and they have to fucking try and pull them back.
Have you seen that, Gravity, the film Gravity?
I know about Gravity.
It crashes all over the place, and she's tethered, and she's swinging round, and she's getting lost, and all that. She has to try and grab onto something else, but that kind of shit could happen, and little bits of that kind of stuff has happened in the past.
It definitely has.
And the more that we go up, the chances that it's going to happen more. But if we launched a spaceship in 2028, we could catch up to... You remember that space rock that come through? The
Oumuamua.
Oumuamua, that's the fella. And then his brother come back later through.
Yeah.
Another one. Well, we could catch up to that in 26 years.
Really?
Yeah, if we set off in 2028.
We'll get on it.
Yeah, I think we should.
I reckon if we can set off earlier, we'll get there quicker.
Yeah, to be honest...
If traffic's good.
I think more are going to come through.
Yeah, definitely, because this was, if you don't know what Oumuamua is, it was the first interstellar object to come through our solar system, which was really interesting because obviously it was something we'd never seen before, And when
saying there's a lot of iron around it.
Well, when it first kind of came on the scene, there was a lot of speculation to whether it being, extraterrestrial, which it definitely is, because it's...
because it slowed down, and it shouldn't have slowed down.
Well, no, I don't mean it in that sense of the word. I mean it in the sense that it's extraterrestrial, is in the sense that it's come from beyond our known parameters.
But there was questions if there were aliens controlling it.
Of course it was. Whether it was an alien spaceship.
It did move
actual university scientists and graduate, university professors.
Yeah, and it was spinning
staking their reputations on it.
Well, yeah. Well, there's still discussion about it today. There seriously is, and it keeps turning to, it looks like there was a metal object with inside it, but then... No, it could have been, this is why it looked like it was metal objects and stuff like that. And when the second one come through, that come pretty clear, really, and it didn't have much more of a control than what the first one did, Oumuamua. And it did slow down and seem to do little changes, like you would see like in UFOs, but like not as so dramatic. But if you have a look at NASA's path of the movement of the way it was coming through, you'll notice that it seems like it's got control. So, but the best time to find out is if we do send a craft, and they hope NASA's listening and go like, yeah, why not? We've sent a craft to other rocks, why not?
Oh, there, yeah. I'd say so.
Because it's a decent one to go to, isn't it, really?
Well, I've got one last... NASA story.
I got two.
Well, you go for it.
Okay, dokie. Well, jaw-dropping view of the Milky Way's just been revealed. Mystery, strange objects dangling in space.
Like what? Like how? What are they dangling from?
Well, they did
more space.
Well, they've used
when you say, how can you describe something that's in a vacuum that's able to kind of like, traverse three-dimensional space? Well, as dangling.
This is why it was jaw-dropping. Basically, in South Africa, they got the ultra-sensitive Meerkat radio telescope to look into the Milky Way, and when they did, they was jaw-dropping on what they seen, and it looks like there are things dangling basically through space, like there's objects there, like there's statues.
Right, right, bloody hell.
Yeah, and the picture is...
Well, I need to see this picture, because that does sound jaw-dropping. And when you're seeing statues in the Milky Way, that sounds like something I want to see. And I'm sure the listeners agree.
Oh,
And we're going to get people going... They're going to be emailing me now. You do realise this, going... Well, can we see this photo? And I'm going to go, I don't fucking know what he's talking about. He's not sending it me yet, so send it me. Don't forget.
I'll send you the photo,
You best, Dad.
Yeah, you have to remind me.
Okay. Do you want to crack on? I've got one more, last one.
Okay then. It has been now confirmed, China's confirmed it's joining Russia to build a moon base by 2035.
I've heard this. Yeah, they've got a 5-year mission, haven't they? A drastic and radical mission, but this is something that kind of is also a bit weird, considering who they're joining forces with.
Well, the way things are going at the minute, we're pushing China and Russia together, to be honest, and I think they haven't been bad buds in the past.
No, they're allies, aren't they? To be honest, so it's like,
and it's to rival NASA's lunar gateway, which they're looking at getting a space station around.
Well, basically, we've said this before. It's like whoever controls the moon, it's the gateway to the rest of the universe, isn't it? Because
China's got the backside of the moon,
especially if what they predict about creating, fuel there. Is it hydrogen or hydrogen fuel of some description?
R3 or something, or D3 it's called, that's on the surface, and there's lots of it, and we can use it to basically travel the universe.
Right, cool.
So,
Well, I've got one last story. Basically, scientists have discovered blasts of flashing radio waves coming from a mysterious nearby object.
Another one.
Yeah, well, this is scientists have spotted a mysterious object that has been letting out giant blasts of energy 3 times an hour. Yeah.
Sick.
Whatever the objective, it's relatively nearby, about 4,000 light years away, and it's nothing astronomers have ever seen before. This is an object that appeared and disappeared over a few hours durations. So,
see, they've just spotted a white dwarf that's, for the first time, they've never seen a white dwarf that actually turns on and off.
oh right,
Because you can't turn it on and off because it's basically a fucking energy ball.
It's an energy ball,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's a
So
sun,
it's
yeah.
like, but then again,
But it's turning off and
wait
on.
a minute, right? Because there's been instances where we thought that there was a planet flashing at us,
Yeah.
and it turned out that there was something in its orbit. Now potentially that could be
Yeah.
a moon or something in the way.
Yeah.
That's blocking the signal for those 3 or 4 hours, but then
continuous.
Well, no. I mean, if it's a light source, if something passes in front of it and it blocks
Yeah.
it and it eclipses
Yeah.
it, then basically you're not going to see that for a few hours until it passes. Whereas radio signals, we already know that if you go round, we have to slingshot round the back of the moon when we want to
Yeah.
go to fucking the moon or Mars or wherever, because we lose radio contact when we go behind the moon. So if it's something that's emitting a signal, but then something blocks it or passes in front of it in orbit,
Yeah,
then
but,
maybe that's what the blackout is for them 3 or 4 hours, and then the signal returns.
but that's what Kepler's there for. Kepler's the one that actually sees if actually planets or moons or suns go in front of it, so it can actually work out if it's in the Goldilocks zone, if it's got water, if it's got heat, what it's got and not.
What it's got and not.
And it doesn't seem to be a planet that's moving in front.
Right,
It just
well.
seems to dim out and then dim back on, and that is totally.
That was that one where basically they thought it was the Dyson sphere.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then you got the was it Tiddy Star or something?
That was it. That was the one. Yeah.
where they thought that they were using the sun.
Well, it's basically like a structure around the planet that was able to spin and create energy off using the momentum of the planet, I think. Somewhere along them lines.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I think we've had a pretty interesting episode this week.
We have.
I think we covered a lot.
We have, yes.
Hope you've
definitely.
enjoyed it.
And DNA as well, which
Yeah,
we don't
well,
usually do.
Well, again, thank you
this-
to Kira for joining us on the show.
Great interview.
I
Hope to see you again.
hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah.
If you like what we do, you can find us on all podcast platforms. We're available
Yes.
over on iTunes, Spotify,
Everywhere.
everywhere.
We're big.
YouTube. We're big.
Yeah.
We're bigger than
Bigger than
sliced
Mount
bread.
also.
What?
I was going to say Mount Everest, but then I went through the bit.
We're bigger than the smallest man in
In
England.
toast.
No, we're bigger. We're as big as the biggest house, the smallest house in Wales.
Yes.
Google
yeah,
it.
Yeah, that's
It's
really
small.
small, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Small door, man.
So,
I couldn't live in there.
yeah. So you've made me go off fucking track now. We're available on all kind of like social media.
We are indeed.
You can go over to Twitter at NASA_never and follow us there.
Yeah.
We're on Instagram at Never Straight Answer.
Come on.
Go over to the website.
Oh,
If you
yeah.
have trouble remembering all that, you can go over to the website where there's links to everything, and it's
all
all there under one roof. We've
All
got
under one roof.
blogs,
like
videos.
a big international company.
It's all sorts. Yeah.
We've got
so well
everything.
worth a look.
Yeah, definitely.
Got book recommendations.
Oh, yes,
and,
good book
all sorts of
recommendations.
stuff. So,
A back catalogue of what we've done.
of all the podcasts,
Yeah.
and it's all free.
It is. Indeed.
To an extent. No, I'm joking. You can buy an episode if you want. Buy one of our episodes. You can have it.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll run a competition that
Yeah,
somebody
that's a good
might want to
idea,
win one of our episodes.
Yeah.
Just, to have.
Yeah.
Like an NFT.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Could you do that? I don't know.
Yeah, possibly.
Possibly.
have a look into
Copyrighted.
it.
Copyrighted.
Yeah.
It's my idea. Can't have it.
Nope.
Right, anyway.
Yeah.
Some fucker's going to nick it.
Yeah,
right.
probably.
That's us. We're going to be back next week.
We are.
We've got another interesting guest next week, I believe. I think it's a good one. Going to be a good one.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm really tired, so we're going to call it a night.
Yes, we are.
We've been the Never a Straight Answer podcast. I've been Gaz.
I've been Taylor.
Peace.
Out.
Rabble, rabble, rabble.